Welcome, everyone. This is Greg Rock, and on behalf of BPM Institute and Appian, we'd like to welcome you to today's webcast, Learning How the US Treasury Managed Consumer Complaints Using BPM. We're lucky enough today to have two presenters with us. Jacquie White is an Information Management and Technology Services Specialist, Financial Data Systems with the Office of Thrift Supervision within the Department of the Treasury. And we also have Malcolm Ross joining us today, Director of Product Management at Appian. And we look forward to getting underway with today's session. I've got just a few quick housekeeping items, and I'll turn things over to Malcolm. As many of you know, our webcast series is just one of the ways in which BPM Institute looks to spread knowledge sharing and information on business process management in general. We do that through our website, our conferences, our training programs, and our magazine. Also, for those of you that are in the government and down in the Washington, D.C. area, we will be there in the middle of September and look forward to meeting up with our members at our annual gathering down there. So without further delay, I'd like to introduce our featured presenter today. Jacquie White is part of the OTS, which is an office within the Department of the Treasury, and is the federal bank regulator and supervisor of a dynamic and diverse industry of savings associations and their subsidiaries across the nation. And the Office of the Treasury has implemented BPM, and they've been gracious enough to come and share that experience with us and the members of our community. And we look forward to an interactive discussion. Both Malcolm and Jacquie have also been gracious enough to stay with us after the slide deck, and we'll have a short Q&A session, and there'll also be a special offer, which I'll tell you a little bit more at the conclusion of today's webcast. So without further delay, I'd like to turn things over to Malcolm Ross.
Great. Thanks, Greg. It's great to be here with Jacquie. To begin, I'd like to just talk a little bit about business process management in general and the change that I think the federal government's experiencing. As we all know, there are a lot of changes throughout all of America right now, economically as well as politically, which are impacting a lot of the ways that governments need to think about how they deliver services to their citizens. It's a great statement here from Government Technology from February 2009, saying public CIOs must adopt technology that streamlines systems, improve processes, and increases visibility and collaboration. Without these improvements, mission-critical government objectives will not be met. It's really focused on moving the entire federal government to the 21st century and addressing a lot of the drivers out there that are driving change across all the organizations, such as a need to extend service delivery capabilities, despite shrinking budgets. As we all know, a lot of not only federal but also state agencies are going through a budget crisis. And it's very important to think about the efficiency at which you deliver services while still maintaining a service level to the citizens out there who consume those, as well as increasing complex processes across legacy systems and data. If you think about the federal government, I often think that the U.S. federal government almost invented the use of the computer system in modern day times. And there's systems out there that date back not only to the 60s but the 50s, and they're still driving key systems for federal agencies. And these systems are critical components of your enterprise processes of how you deliver services to these constituents. And driving this has been a service-oriented architecture approach in uniting these, but what orchestrates service objects is really what we think about in business process management, of how you really look at your enterprise processes. As well as time-based legislation, and mandated policies such as the Federal Hiring Process Improvement Act, pressures to increase collaboration across agencies, such as, especially as apparent in the intelligence agencies right now, the disparate information getting across to make critical decisions for the federal government. Demand for greater compliance and oversight, as you see in the automotive takeovers and the banking takeovers, of how we're going to guarantee that the public stake inside these organizations is going to be delivered in a very compliant and overseen way. And then despite all the above, optimizing service levels for constituents, trying to make sure that you fulfill the administration guidelines for optimizing and improving performance to our core constituents. Now, so I go to my next slide here. Why is business process management really a key to achieving a lot of these goals inside your systems? Well, first, it's active performance monitoring. If you think of the difference between maybe workflow and business process management, workflow is obviously just the general aspect of automating processes. I'm going to take something from Sally, give it to Jim, and route it through the work appropriately. Business process management, though, has a managerial insight into those workflows that provides things like business performance monitoring and business activity monitoring that tracks the real-time status and visibility of all your processes. It allows you to aggregate those views up to high-level views so I can see my overall process performance and how things are really progressing through my entire system. So it's a higher level of visibility than delivered in, say, just workflow systems. There's automated exception handling, capture detailed audit histories. Very important also being able to play back older versions of processes and see exactly what decisions were made inside processes. Enforcing compliance and rules, adapting to changing regulations and legislation very quickly, and increasing throughput and productivity overall by automating a lot of these actions. And of course, BPM is also built on these 21st century technologies, such as web services and service-oriented architecture. So it's able to tap into your legacy systems in what we call a SOA manner, leveraging existing environments in your modern-day workflows as well. Allows you to also do rapid prototyping. So in business process management, we often espouse a agile development methodology as opposed to more traditional federal waterfall approaches. So an agile methodologies really encourage you to do something very quickly, run it, actually use that in production, and then make changes on the fly. So it's very easy to adapt and to make changes on the fly as your processes are being deployed, so you can very quickly proof of concept and continuously improve those processes throughout the entire life cycle. And then overall, reducing time to deploy, reducing cost to deploy, and reducing the complexity of your deployments by using model-driven architecture design principles driven by business process management systems. So when do we think of how to use or when to use BPM systems? Well, obviously when you have multiple steps and sequential for the most part, as well as when you think of there's a lot of exception handling, ad hoc actions. BPM systems are also collaborative, which allow you to very easily forward work to other users and handle ad hoc actions. Also, when there's multiple dependencies and you must adhere to rendered policies and rules, a key part of BPM systems is also rules management and rules enforcement, so that as I program a certain interface to always go or a certain decision to always go a certain way, it will enforce that through the process automation, while allowing appropriate organizational flexibility as well in implementing these solutions. So where are we? Who has it? What's the status? If you're asking those questions as well, it's also time for a BPM system. It's really the biggest benefit that I hear most back from customers is the visibility you have in your daily systems, where things are, what's the status of this, and when is it going to be done, and then allowing to measure the performance of all those processes. So if we think of how Appians engage a lot of our customers in deploying BPM solutions, these are often for things like government compliance, A123 and OMB regulations, human resources management such as recruiting, employee onboarding, offboarding, and employee self-service and career advancement. A simple automation of things like the SF52 form can be very high value in achieving a BPM result. Acquisition and procurement. Appian has an experience in very large acquisition procurement systems for organizations like DISA that provide all their acquisition and planning processes provided by the Appian system. PBE, planning, budgeting, and execution, as well as project and case management are also good areas. There are things like handling simple Freedom of Information Act requests and equal opportunity employment requests. So what some of the government customers who are using with the Appian systems, AHRQ using us with correspondence tracking, the US Marine Corps is using us for enterprise procurement, WHTI is using us for project management, the Department of Homeland Security, case management, Defense Acquisition University, micro purchasing programs, so everything underneath 25,000, and the United States Army has our largest implementation using an enterprise collaboration center with over 2 million users and over 300 legacy systems integrated. So with that, I'll pass it off to Jackie.
Thank you, Malcolm. Greg already told you a little bit about OTS in his introduction. I'd like to tell you also that the OTS has a highly skilled staff of more than 1,000 employees that operate out of its headquarters in D.C. and 4 regional offices in Jersey City, Atlanta, Chicago, and Dallas. Before I describe our BPM project, I do need to clarify that neither I or OTS are endorsing Appian products. Appian is one of several BPM vendors that we considered, and some of the others should have worked as well. Each had its strengths and weaknesses, and since our procurement was over a year ago, the comparative strengths and weaknesses of those vendors are probably no longer the same. If you're with a government agency that's considering a BPM procurement, I would be more than happy to discuss that with you offline and tell you more about our experience. Our BPM Pilot implementation, in addition to helping a particular business office implement its an efficient, high-quality process, it was also an effort to reduce system development costs. The groups involved in this implementation of BPM technology are the Office of Consumer and Community Affairs in Washington, D.C., and the Consumer Affairs Division that's located in Jersey City, Atlanta, Dallas, and Daly City, California. The team from Information Technology and Finance in D.C. Now consists of knowledge experts in areas such as server configuration and management, exchange, and information security. My role began as the project manager, and through training, mentoring, and this project, I've progressed into a fairly capable business process analyst and developer. Most of our OTS systems are a series of input screens and output reports. They manage the data but not the business process. Most of our processes, though, are paper-based and human-centric, and a traditional system isn't well suited to capturing the things that happen outside of the system, such as paper shuffling between people. Then there are the questions of who has the paper now, and why is this process taking so long? And traditional systems can't easily answer those questions. But without the answers to those questions, it's difficult to improve how we do things. We needed to start thinking about what we do as process, which is a series of steps including both system and human activities, and also how to identify ways to reduce the passing of paper. Because we have trouble answering the who and the why questions above, we knew that we needed to start looking at ways to monitor and measure our processes so that we can make them better. So why did we choose BPM? Our CIO brought this idea with him when he came to OTS, and he began looking around to see if we could benefit from the technologies that were available. There are many products out there that, while they accomplish some BPM-like functionality, they don't offer all that a BPM suite can. We use some of these technologies in other areas, but only BPM suite offers the ability to monitor and improve our business processes. So what were we looking for in the technology? Basically, we wanted an easy to deploy and use product, one that anyone could use, even someone like me. And we didn't want to break the bank, so cost was a major factor in our search. The key goals for our BPM initiative were first to start moving us towards a process way of thinking and to look at automating a well-defined but paper-based process. In doing so, we hope to introduce visibility and measurability into what we do, which is something that's really, really new to us. It took us a while to choose the right pilot process. There were a lot of ideas coming down the pike, and it was hard to nail something down. I'd been the business analyst for the consumer complaint system for about a year when Consumer Affairs presented a request to do something new. So we took that on as our pilot. It didn't involve a whole lot of users, but it really would have a high impact on those users. So let me start by telling you about the people for whom this process was developed. Last year, the Consumer Affairs Division evolved from a national model into a national business model, or regional model rather, into a national business model. The Consumer Affairs National Team now consists of centralized intake for consumer complaint letters in our Consumer Response Unit in D.C. And that's currently staffed with 4 full-time specialists. 3 analysts also handle complaint appeals and other special projects. There are 4 investigating offices grouped under the leadership of 2 managers located in Jersey City, New Jersey, and Daly City, California. These managers have added complexity to their roles in that they now manage staff with whom they are not co-located. The East Group consists of 4 analysts between the 2 locations in Atlanta and Jersey City, and the West Group has 5 analysts between Daly City and Dallas. Prior to this project, each office was doing basically the same thing, but they had local variations, and the variations came about largely because the function had been decentralized for a long period of time. We have used the phrase macaroni and cheese to describe this. Just about every family has a macaroni and cheese recipe that they love, and they really find it hard to understand the way other people make their macaroni and cheese. But sometimes families blend, and they have to take the best of all the recipes and come up with macaroni and cheese that's good for everyone. So we needed our national team macaroni and cheese to deliver one clear and consistent message in our correspondence with the public, and also to have one clear and consistent process that we could measure and improve. The solution is what we call the Correspondence Management Component, or CMC. I'll refer to it as CMC going through. It's in its first phase, and in this phase it has two aspects. And this one is document management. It uses rules to route the complaint correspondence received in DC to the correct geographic group of analysts. And what you see here is a typical analyst homepage. And users, when they log in, see their homepage. We use templates to generate standardized correspondence through the use of sub-processes, which is a BPM best practice. And we've incorporated a review and revise phase with document version control. And this has really been a great enhancement to what they currently use with email. And this particular thing that you're looking at right now is during the preparation of the case closing letter. And that's customized for each complaint and allows analysts and managers to exchange revisions without those documents getting lost in the email shuffle. We also have workflow management, and this is a really important and different component, but it really supports the national team approach and provides a tool to manage staff in various locations. With the CMC, we've introduced the concept of group tasks, which allows analysts to select most of the cases that they'll investigate. The concept works both for groups that operate with assigned caseloads of thrifts and those that do not. All analysts work from a home page, and once they accept a case, it is removed from the group, and then all subsequent tasks for that case show up in the My Tasks section of their home page. Of course, one kid sometimes doesn't get picked for the dodgeball team at recess, and when cases are in the queue or in a group for a predetermined number of days, they're sent to the manager for direct assignment. This is exception handling. With staff located in different parts of the country, the managers really can't manage by walking down the hall anymore. The CMC is a tool for managing geographically, and it allows managers now to manage by exception. All data currently is entered into our legacy consumer complaint system database, and with all data entry, sometimes errors occur. To eliminate the need for users to have to make changes manually in two systems, we created a quick task that you see circled here so that changes made to the case data in the legacy system will update automatically into the CMC. And this is a new feature that's only been in place for a few weeks, and it's already being used extensively. One of the newest features that we've also added is a quick task that's targeted just to managers so they can reassign cases. If an analyst is out of the office for an extended time, or there are some other circumstances where their caseload has just become overwhelming, manager can selectively reassign cases that need the immediate attention. So where are we now? Well, we're just past the 60-day mark since the rollout of CMC, and as in most other workplaces, there are users that are still focusing on getting the steps right, and there are others that are already looking to the next phase. They're looking to the future and coming up with ideas. In both these groups, users are making suggestions for improvement in the short term, and also for features to include in the longer term when we go to full functionality. As users get more comfortable with the process and we create more process data, management is starting to think about process metrics. And the Director of Consumer and Community Affairs just yesterday called me to ask for some additional reports that she would like to see on her homepage that would give her more detail about what she's seeing on her homepage now. So that's a really, really encouraging sign, and it's actually something that our CIO had wanted people to think in terms of. It's something that's been lacking at OTS is metrics for monitoring processes. So this is a really great sign. And right now, BPM is not just another technology that IT is trying to push on anyone, like things have been in the past. Consumer Affairs itself is becoming our BPM champion. And what that means is they are getting the word out to other groups and other users, and they're really starting to talk it up. So that is going to make it a lot easier going forward with our BPM initiatives. So where are we going? What is the future for BPM at OTS? We have several more iterative releases lined up that will take us through midsummer, and this speaks to the rapid prototyping that Malcolm talked about earlier. We can get small releases out incrementally instead of having to bite off huge chunks of development work. I think that right now we have 2 or 3 more scheduled through the end of the summer, and then several more through the end of the year. We're also going to be upgrading to version 5.7 around mid-July. We're shooting for a full functionality in CMC by year end, and that will include making all data entry through the Appian interface and then writing that data to our legacy relational database. We're going to try to incorporate electronic interagency transfer of complaints in that release too. We'll also explore other areas for BPM. Several individuals and small groups have expressed an interest in automating some of their processes, as well as other business offices, and even some people in my own little group are trying to think of small ways that they can improve the things that they do. So that's very encouraging. What lessons have we learned through our BPM pilot? We had some growing pains in the first few months getting it installed and ready to use, but that was due in part to the fact that it's a new technology on a platform with which we're not familiar. But the consultants that we used were very accessible, they knew the product, and they were able to get us up and running despite our own hurdles. It's also important to choose the right process for your first BPM project. Much of the success of this one was due to the openness of the business office to trying something different. Their needs and the capabilities of BPM technology meshed very, very well. And it's always very wise to take advantage of the knowledge of consultants. Although the product is easy to use and I've been able to attain a very competent level of process design and development, I owe some of this growth to the partnership that I have with professional services and technical support. My technical project manager and consultant are always available to answer questions, and when I log a support case, I get a response within hours. So just use them. Whatever product you go with, use the consultants. This is very, very worthwhile. As I mentioned earlier, you can feel free to contact me at this email address, and I would be happy to answer any particular questions that you have about our BPM procurement and our process. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Jackie. And just to finish up, just to review very quickly about Appian. Appian is, if you haven't heard of us before, we're based in Reston, Virginia, with our EMEA headquarters in London, England, and we're founded in 1999, just coming up on our 10-year anniversary. We have 2 primary products that we offer. Both are the Appian BPM suite, but the first is Appian Enterprise, which is basically our leading business process management suite that's delivered to your premise and managed by the client. Then we also have our Appian Anywhere offering, so if you're looking for a very rapid start into a business process management platform, this is our on-demand SaaS-based offering with the instant-on capability available at appiananywhere.com. But on top of this, we also provide a number of industry templates and expertise allowing you to accelerate your BPM implementation of certain engagements, such as our Appian for SharePoint module for integration to your Microsoft environment, compliance, procurement, IT service management, and other templated process solutions allow you to accelerate your deployment in certain practice areas. Appian has a large deployment of over 2.5 million customers, including government, commercial, in the financial services, manufacturing, retail, telecommunications, and services arena. The Appian product contains 4 main and integrated components. So the entire Appian Enterprise Business Process Management Suite includes a process modeling, process execution, and process rules environment, which is also extensible based on service-oriented architecture principles. We also include a full analytics environment, which includes monitoring, optimization, and dashboard reporting, which can also be extended through extended reporting capabilities. Our content management system also includes enterprise document management, enterprise search, and version control of all content that transacts through your processes, as well as content they simply freeform upload and store inside the Appian system. And then finally, we have an enterprise collaboration platform, which includes discussion forums, targeted portal pages, and personalization of content for each user inside the environment. All these components are provided together inside one integrated suite solution, which provides you with a very reduced deployment time, lower maintenance costs, and allows you to more easily manage your entire enterprise deployment. Appian Anywhere, as I mentioned before, is our standard editions available as an instant-on capabilities, as well as a free 30-day trial. So if you'd like to take a sample of Appian today, you can simply go to the Appian Anywhere site and sign up for a free 30-day trial and begin designing your processes right away. Now, Appian has a diverse customer base. As I mentioned, we service a lot of different needs, all being process-related. Some of our government customers, as you mentioned before, include USDA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, the FDIC, the World Bank, General Dynamics in the government services industry, Defense Information Systems Agency, the U.S. Army, the U.S. Marine Corps, as well as a number of commercial agencies using us for also a wide variety of purposes, such as Raytheon, Pepco, our local energy provider, AGF, Financial Services, Nokia Siemens Network, which is the largest provider of telecommunications cellular equipment, as well as organizations like the College Board, local organization. If you'd like to find more about Appian, feel free to visit us at www.appian.com or email us at info@appian.com. As Greg had mentioned at the beginning as well, we also have a unique offering for participants in this webinar. If you'd like us to do a free evaluation of your process environment and see if you're ready for a Business Process Management Suite solution, feel free to contact us. We'll be happy to go and do a free evaluation of your process environment with one of our engineers to figure out how BPM can best suit your needs. Thank you very much, and I'll pass it back to Greg.
All right, Malcolm, and I wanted to thank yourself and the folks at Appian for being longtime supporters of our community and helping us to spread education and share best practices. And Jackie, a special thank you to you. The number one request that I receive from our members are practitioners like yourself looking to learn from other folks that have been down the path already, and most importantly, when folks are just starting out, to get some of those early and quick wins to help gain some support and momentum for the continuous process improvement initiatives that they have underway, both at commercial companies and within the government. But while we have you, and we appreciate your time, I'd like to jump into a few questions to kind of round out today's webcast, and I'll put these out for both yourself and Malcolm to comment on. Could you tell our members, within the projects that you specify, what is a typical implementation time? And what size of team do you normally use for the projects that you've had underway?
Great. I think I'll let Jackie answer it first for her specific engagement in the team size and deployment time, and then I'll take it from a broader perspective.
Okay. The team size that I have, it kind of varies depending on what I need. I have several, I would say, one point of contact in the business office, and 2 others that sometimes will contribute in the business office. I also have about 5 or 6 people that I can call on in IT for various needs, such as the system administration, for the server maintenance, if I have connectivity or database integration issues. I have different people that I can call on. They're members of my team, but they're not permanently assigned, so they're kind of on demand. And the other?
Yeah, I think, and then from a broader perspective, in general, obviously the vendor response, it depends. It obviously depends on the size of your process and the extent. One of the great benefits that Appian does provide is that we do have a lot of templated processes. Our most popular one right now being our federal HR management process, which has a SF52 form automation. As you know, SF52 forms are very common throughout the entire federal government, and Appian has some pre-canned solutions for that for a very rapid implementation of a BPM solution to meet that specific need. But of course, some of our other federal customers have very large and unique environments. DISA, for example, doing telco and satellite communication equipment purchasing. I don't think there's many federal agencies which are buying satellites right now, so it's very unique to their specific needs and a much longer engagement cycle.
And also, speaking to the development time, because ours was very specific and we didn't use a template, we actually began developing this particular process last July. So about the early part of July. It went live on March 30th. So that gives you an idea of about how long it took. Some of those delays, though, were due to not issues, but decisions that needed to be made by the business office. And when you're waiting on requirements, sometimes that takes a little while. It had nothing to do with the product or even the amount of work it took to bring the model up.
Yeah, I'm reminded of your macaroni slide earlier that one of the big challenges we always have with process deployments is that processes are also highly political. And that everyone likes to voice their opinion of how it needs to go through. So a lot of times the largest part of your process implementation is the discovery and trying to figure out what exactly is the process, and then before you actually perform the automation.
Yes.
All right, great. Well, Jackie, let me see if I can come back to you on another note. I'm sure there were a lot of existing technologies in-house before you guys undertook these efforts. Did you examine some of those technologies, things like Oracle and Microsoft, that are common there, and then what kind of led you towards selecting Appian?
Basically, about all I can really say is that at the time that we were doing our BPM procurement, we did not have anything in-house that did what this did. So the CIO really wanted to bring a BPM-specific technology in-house to begin to accomplish some of the things that I talked about with the visibility, with starting to think about process, about metrics. None of the things that we had in-house really spoke to that. We've since acquired other kinds of management and tracking technologies, and they're good for what they do. And that's pretty much what you're going to find, is that different products are very good for doing very specific things. And so BPM and Appian is used very specifically when we're trying to automate our very paper-centric and human-centric processes. And not every process that we have is going to be modeled with Appian or put into production with Appian. So we are trying to now use everything that we've acquired in the last about 18 months as best as they can be used. So when we first started this, we almost really didn't have anything that did this. And now we have several other technologies, and now we evaluate different processes that are kind of ripe for some kind of technology, to see which one of the technologies will fit.
All right, great. And if I guess as part of that initial step, it's important to make sure you're picking, the right initial products. Could you share with our members the process you went through on identifying those initial projects and how you went through that part of the phase?
Oh, well, identifying the project.
Yeah.
But when I first was put in charge of this, the CIO had a new project every week that he wanted me to start working on right away, and the problem was then most of the projects were things that he needed yesterday, or we need something right now or within a week, and most of the things that we were talking about just were not going to be able to do that, like travel vouchers and just our whole procurement process. That's not a very easy thing. It's very complex, has a lot of complexity. So I had been already working with consumer affairs, and I was the project manager for their legacy system that they really were not happy with, and they really, really wanted something different. And so that opened up that opportunity, and it was just finding what their needs were and how we could meet them with Appian. We had this shiny new tool, and we wanted to use it, and they were willing to let us guinea pig with them, and it's really been a very fruitful partnership. They have my back on a lot of the development. They are supporting me 100%, which is great. I love having that.
All right, great. And Malcolm, can I ask you maybe to comment on the type of support that Appian can provide folks when they're trying to go through that selection process of where to start?
Sure. Well, as I said, all of our customers choose to engage with us differently, but I think, as Jackie said, the most important thing is obviously using our support. We provide a 24/7 option for technical and support on the entire product. At the raw, Appian provides, mainly technology services on the best way to implement the Appian product for your specific needs. We also, though, can provide a consultative experience on how we've done business process management engagements at other organizations and other federal agencies, and taking best practices in process improvement and process discovery to your organization as well. So each organization can choose to engage with us or not engage with us as much as they like, but we do have a range of expertise from low-level technical support to consultative guidance on your process improvement cycles that Appian can provide.
All right, great. And Jackie, you had mentioned your CIO a couple times. I'm wondering if you could just share with us, the level of awareness that BPM has within the Department of the Treasury, and how important that executive sponsorship is to some of the efforts that you have underway.
Well, my CIO pretty much brought the idea of BPM to my agency, and he started out as the champion, and he is aware of what's going on in all the development, and he has several things lined up going down the road. What's really been happening, though, is that the business office has kind of taken over that, the getting the word out to others. They have, I had mentioned about interagency complaint transfers, and I'm working with other agencies on how to facilitate that when a complaint letter from a consumer is routed to the wrong agency. How do we get that very quickly over to another agency to resolve the consumer's issue? That's basically why we're doing this, is so that we can speed that time up. And when I meet with the other agencies, their IT people, and see what they're doing, and I talk about, okay, we're moving towards doing this and this, and they're very excited, and they want to hear more, and they want to see our system. So it's kind of gone away from the CIO being the mouthpiece for BPM at my agency to now being my business office, and then also me as the IT person. So I can't really speak to the Treasury as a whole, but several of the other banking agencies and the people that I've talked to at those agencies are very excited to see what we have and how that works.
Oh, well, that's great. Well, the proof is in the pudding, as they say, and so we're congratulate you on the success that you've had, and with ongoing success leveraging Appian's products and services. If I could circle back to one thing, we've just about used up all our time for today, but a process-specific question. So I'm wondering, with some of the common processes that you have around things like procurement, and Malcolm, this is for you as well. Have you been able to use BPM to extend with some of the existing ERP systems that are there?
No. One of the, we have been looking at some of the other areas, but right now I'm about the only BPM analyst and developer at OTS, and I have quite enough on my plate with just this one process. We do know that there are areas that where we need to start looking at making changes, because we do have just a lot of paper, very paper-intensive processes, and like I said on my slides, who has it now? Where is it? What's happened to this piece of paper? We do have we have integration right now with our existing databases with this particular process. And as I think about other processes that come down the road, we are talking about possibly integrating with some of those. In fact, this whole process kicks off from entry in the legacy system. So you can go back and forth, which is really, really a cool thing.
I think with ERP system integration specifically, you know, it's a case-by-case basis depending on the process that we're automating. So ERP systems serve a specific purpose, commonly around the accounting, financial controls, and resource management. And if we happen to be, as Appian, happen to be deploying a process in that area, certainly we provide integration to those systems. And of course, a wide variety of other areas, such as, you know, our HR hiring, we can do integrations to things like USA Jobs and other types of resources to tie into holistic processes as well.
All right, super. Well, listen, I really like to thank you both for doing a bang-up job of educating members of our community about how the Department of the Treasury and the government in general is leveraging BPM, and obviously a theme near and dear to our heart. So Jacquie White with the Office of Thrift Supervision, Department of the Treasury, and Malcolm Ross with Appian, I'd like to thank you both for doing a great job today. I would encourage folks that are participating in this webcast to take advantage of some of the offers that Malcolm spoke about, trials of the product, as well as a potential consultation if you'd like to have their folks come in and share some of their expertise with you. And as always, we'd like to thank Appian for their ongoing support of our community. Thank you both very much.
Thanks, Greg.
Thank you.